Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today, it's all about the Today Show and some of the, let's just say, interesting things that have been happening over there.
Interesting is putting it lightly.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe even a little crazy if you ask me. But that's why we're here to break it all down.
Exactly. So we've got a few different sources today, articles from Parade and Hello Magazine. We've even got some info from IMDb, and we took a quick peek at the NBC website too. So
Should be a pretty interesting mix.
Definitely. Now, one of the things that really jumped out at me from Parade and Hello was Sheinelle Jones not being on the show.
Oh, yeah. During Hoda's last week?
Yeah. And I mean, they're supposed to be good friends, right? So it just seems a little strange.
It does, especially since NBC hasn't officially said anything about it.
Like, at all. And of course, you know the internet's going wild with theories.
Happens every time someone's absent for a while, doesn't it? Makes you wonder what's really going on.
I know. And Parade even brought up how Sheinelle was actually off the air back in November, too.
Oh, right, for a few episodes.
Yeah, but when she came back, she gave a really simple explanation.
Family time and, was it a speaking engagement? Something like that.
Right, but this time, nothing. So, Hello is really playing up all the fan theories from social media.
Which are,
pretty wild. I mean, some people are even saying she might have been let go.
Oh, come on, really?
I know, but it makes you think, right? Like, what's the real story here?
Well, it's all speculation at this point, isn't it? We don't really know anything for sure.
Yeah, but it's still fun to think about. Now, you mentioned NBC not saying anything officially, and that actually brings up an interesting point. Hello contrasted this with how they handled Dylan Dreyer's absence around the same time.
Oh, yeah, she was only out for a day, wasn't she?
Right, and the show barely even mentioned it.
Totally different approach, wouldn't you say?
Definitely makes you wonder if there's like a different protocol depending on who's missing.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time something like that's happened in the media world, would it?
True. Could it be like a power dynamic thing?
Maybe. Or maybe it's something completely different. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I guess so. All right, so speaking of big changes, let's move on to something that's actually been confirmed.
Hoda's departure.
Yep. Hello.
Yeah.
Called it the end of an era, which, I mean...
Maybe a little dramatic. But...
Yeah, but it's definitely a big deal for the show. Hoda's last episode aired on January 10th, and then Craig officially took over on the 13th alongside Savannah.
Seems like it all went pretty smoothly, though, at least from the outside.
Yeah, everyone's been super congratulatory, even Hoda herself. But it still makes you wonder what kind of direction NBC is going for with this change.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, Craig's been with NBC for a while now, since 2011, actually. IMDb even pointed that out. They even said he was chosen for the co-anchor job over a few other people, too. But he's also a lot younger than Hoda and brings a different energy to the table. So
you're thinking, is this a move towards like a more traditional news-focused approach?
Yeah, or are they trying to appeal to a younger demographic? Or maybe both.
It's definitely something to think about. And speaking of appealing to a younger demographic, we can't forget about the big shakeup with the fourth hour.
Right. With Hoda gone, they've totally rebranded it to Today with Jenna and Friends.
So Jenna's staying on, but...
Instead of having a permanent co-host, it's going to be a rotating cast of A-listers.
Wow, really?
Yep. They've already announced some big names like Eva Longoria, Tarji P. Henson, Keke Palmer. Even Scarlett Johansson is supposed to be on.
That's a pretty impressive lineup.
Right. It's almost like they're creating these mini events within the show itself.
Like, tune in this week to see so-and-so co-host.
Exactly. It's a pretty clever way to try and attract viewers.
It is. But the question is, will it work?
Who knows? Okay, before we get too deep into analyzing their strategy, I have to share this hilarious little tidbit from Hello.
What is it?
So Savannah's giving this whole heartfelt farewell message on the show, and Hoda's visibly emotional wiping away tears.
Aww.
Turns out Savannah was saying goodbye to the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree, not Hoda.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
Nope. It's just funny how these things happen sometimes, even amidst all these big changes.
It's a good reminder that they're all human just like us, I guess.
It is. All right, so getting back to Hoda, it's not like she's disappearing completely. Hello mentioned that she's going to be focusing on her wellness app, hosting retreats, and even jumping into the podcast world.
So she's not leaving the spotlight entirely.
Nope. And most importantly, she said she wants to spend more time with her daughters.
Sounds like she's ready for a new chapter.
It does, and it makes you wonder what factors played into her decision to leave Today.
Was it a desire for more creative control, maybe? Or a better work-life balance?
Or maybe a bit of both. I guess we can only speculate.
True.
Yeah.
But it's definitely food for thought.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now we've talked about who's leaving and who's coming in, but I think it's time to dive into the bigger question.
You mean the why?
Exactly. What does all of this really mean for the future of the Today Show?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think it's safe to say that NBC is trying to freshen things up a bit.
Yeah, but remember IMDb said that Craig was chosen over other people for the co-anchor job.
Right, but that doesn't mean they're not trying to appeal to a younger audience, too.
True. I mean, he's definitely a lot younger than Hoda.
Exactly. And he brings a different energy to the table. It's all about finding that balance, between keeping the show's legacy and making it relevant for today's viewers.
So you think they're trying to do both, appeal to older viewers and younger ones?
I do. They're not going to completely abandon their roots, but they're definitely trying to branch out.
Makes sense. It's a smart move, especially when you think about all the competition they're facing.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just other morning shows anymore. It's the whole internet.
Right. People are getting their news and entertainment from so many different places these days.
Exactly. So Today has to find a way to stand out from the noise.
And you think bringing in big names and experimenting with different formats is the way to do that?
It's certainly one way.
Yeah.
It's like they're creating these mini events within the show itself.
Yeah, like tune in this week to see so-and-so co-host with Jenna.
Exactly. It's all about grabbing people's attention.
So what do you think? Will it work?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely an interesting strategy.
It is. But what about the show's overall message? I mean, do you think these changes could alienate some longtime viewers?
It's possible. Change can be hard for people, especially when it comes to something they've been watching for years.
Yeah, like, hello. Talked to a bunch of fans who were really upset about Hoda leaving.
I saw that. But I think NBC's trying to strike a balance here.
Between
keeping things familiar and bringing in something new. They're not getting rid of the news segments or the interviews or any of that.
So more like an evolution than a revolution.
Exactly. And we're still in the early stages of this transition.
Meaning
We don't know how it's all going to play out in the long run.
Good point. So what should we be looking for?
Well, for starters, will they find a permanent co-host for Today with Jen and Friends? And how will Craig's co-anchoring style be received by viewers?
And, of course, the big question, will any of this actually lead to higher ratings?
Only time will tell. But it's definitely going to be interesting to watch.
It is. This whole deep dive has really made me think about how much the media landscape is changing.
It's changing faster than ever before.
And how shows like Today are having to adapt to survive.
Absolutely. It's a whole new world out there.
Okay, so before we wrap things up, let's take a closer look at our sources for today.
We've got Parade, Hello, IMDb, and of course the NBC website.
What do you think about the different perspectives they offer?
Well, Parade and Hello are both really focused on the human interest side of things.
Yeah, like the personal connections and all the fan reactions.
Exactly. And Hello, even called Hoda, the heartbeat of the Today Show, which I thought was pretty interesting.
It definitely adds an emotional layer to the story.
It does. And then you've got IMDb, which is more about the facts and figures.
Like Craig's career history and the dates of Hoda's last episode and all that.
Right. And then there's the NBC website, which is obviously going to be more promotional.
Yeah, they're not going to say anything negative about their own show.
Nope. But it's still a valuable source of information.
Absolutely. It's like we have to look at all these different pieces to get the full picture.
Exactly. Each source gives us a different angle.
So what stood out to you the most from all of this? Any big surprises?
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that even a show as successful as Today has to evolve to stay relevant.
You really think so?
I do. The media landscape is changing so rapidly that no one can afford to just sit back and relax.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful thought. It makes you wonder what the future holds for morning television.
It does. And speaking of the future, that brings us to our final thought-provoking question for today.
Ooh, I love these. Lay it on us.
So we've talked a lot about the changes happening at Today, but here's what I want you to think about. Are these changes just specific to this one show, or are they a sign of something bigger? Like, are we seeing a shift in morning show demographics and formats as a whole?
That is a good question. What do you think?
Well, think about it. We've got the rise of streaming services, the shrinking attention spans of viewers, the increasing demand for diverse and relatable content.
So you're thinking that all of this is pushing morning television in a new direction?
I am. Maybe away from the traditional co-anchor model and towards something more dynamic, more personality-driven.
Like what we're seeing with Today with Jen and Friends.
Exactly. So are these changes at Today just the tip of the iceberg? Is morning television as we know it about to undergo a major transformation? That's what I want you all to think about.
Ooh, I like that. It really makes you think about the bigger picture.
And that's what these deep dives are all about, right?
Absolutely. All right, well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground.
From Sheinelle's mysterious absence to Hoda's emotional departure to the rise of Craig Melvin and the shakeup of the fourth hour.
We've looked at the facts, analyzed the possible reasons behind these changes, and even indulged in a little bit of speculation.
But ultimately, the future of today remains to be seen.
Will these changes lead to greater success, or will they backfire?
Will they attract a new generation of viewers? Or alienate the loyal fans who've been watching for years?
Only time will tell.
But that's what makes it so exciting, right?
It does. And it's why we love doing these deep dives.
It's all about exploring the unknown, asking the tough questions, and trying to make sense of the world around us.
Exactly. And we couldn't do it without you, our amazing listeners.
So thank you for joining us on this journey.
And remember, the conversation doesn't end here.
Keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep those deep dives going.
It really feels like we've gone down the rabbit hole with this one, hasn't it?
We have, and come up with more questions than answers.
That's how you know it's a good deep dive. It just shows that even something as familiar as a morning show can be so much more complex than it seems.
Exactly. There are always layers to uncover, different perspectives to consider.
And sometimes it's those unexpected twists and turns, like that whole Savannah saying goodbye to the Christmas tree thing, that really make it fun.
Oh yeah, that was classic. But it also highlights how important it is to
not take everything at face value.
to think critically about the information we're consuming, and to remember that there's always more to the story than what we see on the surface.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Ooh, I love these parting words of wisdom.
Well, it's not really wisdom, more like a
challenge.
Yeah, exactly. Remember that you're not just a passive observer in all of this, meaning your thoughts, your opinions, your perspectives, they all matter. Don't be afraid to share them, to challenge assumptions, to start conversations.
It's those conversations that can lead to real change,
They can. And who knows, maybe one of our listeners will be the one to crack the code on what's really going on at the Today Show.
Maybe they'll have the next big theory that blows everyone's lines.
It could happen. But for now, we're going to have to leave you with that cliffhanger.
The mystery continues.
It does. But that's okay, because it just means there's more to explore, more to discover.
And more deep dives to come.
Exactly. So thanks for joining us, everyone. And until next time, keep those minds curious and those deep dives going.